All right. So Maria Daniels here with Successfully Chaotic and Natural Approach Health and Fitness. And this is Natural Health and Approach Health and Fitness Live. Sorry, I got tongue tied there. Today I have Chris Luna with Helping Our Planet Evolve. And I was going to have him talk to everybody a little bit about some of my passions. It's my passions too. It's why I really love reaching out to Chris and really following some of the things that he's got going on with the community gardens, the sustainability and composting and all the other things that I love. So, Chris, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself and, what you've been doing there and, kind of get this conversation started.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. And yeah, what we do here in Eagle Pass, we are I'm here with Helping Our Planet Evolve, and we're a nonprofit or for impact, as I like to say. And our mission is to create healthy and sustainable communities. Just to create, I feel like that's just another word for wholesome communities, right? That's what
Yeah.
healthy and sustainable makes. And we are doing it through implementing community gardens in our community. Here where I'm from, there is no community gardens. There's really not a lot of outdoor activities to do. We just started a new project to make a trail here in the city, right outside the city, a bit small. And our goal is just to get people out in nature more, to be able to learn where we come from and where our roots are. And all of it comes to regenerative agriculture and to be able to grow our own food and not have to buy food from thousands of miles away that sometimes not even like that good for us because it has tons of pesticides and chemicals. And it's unnecessary. If we could do it in our backyard or in a community garden, we don't have to, grab it from China or India or anywhere else.
Absolutely. So, can you tell everybody how did you decide to start doing this? Did you grow up really caring about sustainability and biodiversity and all these things, or was it something that you learned at a particular time?
Yeah, no, quite the opposite. I don't know if it was just my family or just the culture here in Hispanic, but I grew up throwing. This sounds super bad, but like the chip bags or whatever trash in the car, just out the window. Um, Not really caring. I live in a border town, so Mexico's like 5 minutes from my house, just across the bridge. So the food here is Mexican food, and it's super delicious, but it's really bad for you if you eat it every single day. So it was until like I moved out and I moved to San Antonio, and then I moved to Colorado, and just seeing everybody so health oriented. And then as I started reading, I love reading, just exploring different books, different topics, and then I ran into Bill Plotkin. He has this book, Nature and the Human Soul, and Charles Eisenstein, who talks a lot about holistic health from micro to macro. If anyone's wanting to learn about sustainability and how it's tied into health, he's probably my go-to. But just reading a lot about him and his work, and seeing how our health problems as people are tied directly to the health problems of our planet, and it's just a reflection of um, you know our bodily diseases are a reflection of the harm that we're doing to our environment. And just learning that really opened my eyes. And I just asked myself, what can I do to improve my health and improve the health of my community and of my planet? And that's when I realized, through reading and meditation, that the more I focus on my health and the more like I grow my own food, it not only helps me, but it helps everything that I come in contact with, and directly and indirectly, right? Like I started eating healthier, and then my mom wants to eat healthy too. My sister a little bit. Sometimes I go their way with like tacos and stuff, but
I mean, tacos are good.
uh,
It's hard to resist tacos all the time.
yeah,
I try to eat healthy too, but tacos are my weakness. So,
yes, I just had some this morning, some chicharrón and barbacoa, but every once in a while, it's not bad. But obviously, like if it's an everyday thing, then it can really affect your health in a negative way.
absolutely, and like with anything else, I mean, there's various roads to trying to improve your health and trying to, really start to take the steps to decrease our footprint as a human race. I mean, and I think a lot of people get so overwhelmed with, all the possibilities of all the things that they should be doing or could be doing, and
Yeah.
they don't realize that it's really just taking one step, putting one foot in front of the other. It's deciding to, start recycling, today, and then
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow start, or next month or whenever, start composting. And, then it's, not necessarily saying no to tacos all the time, but maybe you're going to make it with, fresh, real ingredients, because all of those things start to add up,
Yeah.
they start to add up. If you're going through the drive-through and getting, Taco Bell, which is not real tacos, first of all, but let's pretend that people think they are. If you're going through
Yeah.
the drive-through and getting Taco Bell, obviously that's going to be worse than, making your own tacos at home with real fresh ingredients. So there's
Exactly.
these stepping stones. And I think a lot of people kind of shy away from sustainability and all the topics that surround it because they're afraid they're going to have to give up everything. And that's
Yes.
always
Yeah.
been one of my things, is that you don't have to give up everything. I still eat tacos. I love tacos. I enjoy tacos, but I also enjoy them much more when I make them at home, and if I'm making them with
Yeah.
real fresh ingredients. They're so much better.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
mean,
No, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that's like I come from a family that's diabetic, like predominantly, and even I was living in Colorado. I just moved back, and then I started the community gardens, and then I'll go. It was a friend's birthday, and yeah, they brought a bunch of food, and then they're like, "You're not vegan, are you?" Like kind of like if that's like weird or bad, or they're like, oh, I could never. And you don't have to, but like you said, even if it's just starting to eat organic a little bit more, and buying, even if it's frozen, right, it's still better if it doesn't have chemicals or pesticides, because all of that runs off and hurts the environment, and it hurts you too, right? If you're eating, chemicals don't belong inside our body, that have been like synthesized by man. And so I think it's just taking baby steps, right? Just, maybe having a meatless Monday, and just figuring out one day, okay, one day out of the week, I'm not going to have meat, or I'm not going to have unhealthy junk food. So what else can I eat, right? Just getting some baby carrots with hummus, or anything like that, right? And you start to gain momentum. The more you do it, you're like, oh, okay, it wasn't too hard, right? Maybe I could do something else. And then, like you said, you start composting, or start maybe you plant one seed in your backyard, and you start growing a little lettuce plant or something like that, and then it starts from there. And it just feels good to be healthy, right? Like I tell my friends, or whoever tells me like, oh no, I can't, it's too hard. it's it is difficult. I won't say it's easy, but it is worth it, right? Just like anything else, right? Like working out, like once you're done at the gym, you feel good. You're like, yeah,
oh,
like I
yeah,
did it. You just feel
like
like
I
so
did the whole
strong.
world. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's how I
And
feel.
you want to do it again, or you want to do something else. And it's the same thing with like health and sustainability. You like, yeah, you eat healthy one day, and you might not feel huge effects in your energy levels, but you might not get that drop that you usually get if you have like a super heavy uh meal that's like nutrient deficient, right? Like if you don't have to have a salad, but maybe some black beans and some whole grains, and you just feel like, yeah, you don't get that dip, and you're just like, oh, okay, I feel pretty good, and you don't have to take the nap after you eat, and and it just goes from there. So
Absolutely.
you want to do something else to continue that momentum.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I even talk to my clients about, is about food. Food should give us energy, and if it's making you tired, that's your body saying, "This is not working for me."
Yeah.
And I think that we need to start listening to our body as a whole, because, there's so many diets and all this crap that goes around, and I hate the term
Yeah.
diet, I really do, but, I mean, there's times and places for specific eating patterns for specific health reasons sometimes, but those
Yeah.
are not supposed to be lifelong eating habits. Are supposed to be for a time and a place. And,
Yeah.
overall, we're supposed to be eating, what is nourishing for our body. And I think the key phrase there is our body, because,
Mhm.
we're all so different. We have different digestive enzymes and different ways that our
Yes.
body is able to digest food. So, one way that we can figure that out is, if we eat something and, like you mentioned, we're getting exhausted or we're getting that energy dip, that our body's having to work really, really hard to try to digest
Yeah.
that food. And, you want to be able to give something into our body that it's able to digest easily, because the whole point of eating is for nutrition and energy. So if it's not able to
Yes.
utilize, what is in there, then, it's kind of pointless. So I really love just the idea of what you said earlier. About planting just one seed, because like you, I love gardening, and it is work, but it's work that I really enjoy. I love plants. I
Yeah.
love watching things grow. It's like magic every single time. As soon as I see the little sprout come up, I mean, you'll be able to you'll see me. I post pictures of it almost every time, because it's never not magic to me. It looks like magic every time that the seed bursts
It's
and the plant
beautiful.
grows. Yes,
Yes.
every single
It
time.
is.
And I really think that, even if somebody has, health issues or maybe physical issues that they can't go out and do a big garden, get a pot, plant a seed, just be able to experience that magic. I just think
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's just like cilantro or oregano or any of those herbs, basil are super easy to grow. You don't even have to go outside. You could just do it on your windowsill as long as you get some sun. I have these, I think you say I have these little lettuces right here, and it's funny how you say like I get excited and it might be I don't know if it's weird, but every time I meet someone and I tell them about my community garden, I always get my phone out and then I'm like, yeah, look, check out my lettuces, and I'm showing them like I've never ran into someone who shows someone else their lettuces on their phone. Everybody's like, "Look at my kids" or whatever.
yeah,
But
I know,
it's
so
funny because everybody gets excited. They're like, "Whoa, you did that! That's so cool!" Or like, "I didn't know that we could do that." And I mean, it's not even hard, right? Like you just have to know when to plant. But there's a lot of books, there's a lot of guidance. Like with social media, there's a lot of people who have, um, who are constantly posting content. And obviously, it depends where you live, what you can grow at what time, but it's just starting and it's like magical, and then you're outside, you're getting sun because it's always in, you do have to put in energy and effort, and our brains are designed to save us energy, so we don't want to go outside if we don't have to. But once you do go outside and that sun hits your face, and then you're just like, man, it feels so good, right? And like especially now where like 85% of people are vitamin D deficient, right? Because we
yeah.
don't have enough sunlight exposure. It's probably worse with the pandemic, right? People are not going outside, but it's something that makes you feel good, and it makes you feel proud, like of your of your vegetables or whatever it is that you're growing, and it it helps. There's the first order consequences of it directly impacts your health, but then we don't think how it helps how it helps the planet. I saw a possum eating out of my compost
Wow.
earlier, and then some people might be like, oh, it's a possum, like someone might try to kill it event like as soon as they see it, but it's an animal, and it was really nice. My dog was like sniffing it, and like it wasn't mean.
It
So
was just
you
trying to have
never
a
know.
snack.
Yeah, I was just trying to have a snack with it, maybe like an apple I threw, like the pit, or the whatever vegetables, right, the scraps. And I mean, even if it eats it, like someone would be like, "Oh, but that's your compost." Like if it goes poop somewhere, that's compost anyway, and it's
Exactly.
it's it's compost made faster, right? And maybe like 12 hours instead of 6 months.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of things that we don't realize that we're helping when we're really helping ourselves, and that's kind of the whole idea of hope, right? Like it is the community gardens, but it's really focusing on our own health, even if it's not physical health. It could be our emotional health or our spiritual health, because when we're healthier and we feel good, you're not gonna snap on someone when they make a mistake, right? And that could change someone's whole day or someone's whole week or month or life, right? Like if we're all a little bit more calm, uh, a little bit nicer, then I think it could really change the world, right? Like if people are healthier, they're nicer, right? It's just kind of like, and when they're not, when they're energy deficient, they're trying to take other people's energy by being like psychologically abusive or mean, even if it's like indirectly.
Well,
So
I
there's
mean,
always things. Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say it's been well documented that how much just deficiencies really affect the mental health. And, there is a big, you know, I don't want to say problem, but a big issue, in the world, in this country, in the whole world, though, of mental health affecting the day to day life with depression and anxiety and all kinds of things. And while it's not going to always be a cure all, it is definitely a good foundation to start with.
Yes.
Being healthy, getting outside is huge. Getting that vitamin D, just getting there's so much to be said for getting out in nature, even if it's just 5 minutes. Getting out
Yeah.
there really helps with increasing the mood, increasing the good hormones in the brain. All kinds of things start to happen when you do, and adding in little tasks like a small garden, even if it's just a few pots at first. Potted tomatoes, or like you said, basil or cilantro or
Yeah.
whatever. I think it's a great way to kind of get going. And it could be a family activity. My younger kids, my teenagers don't enjoy it so much, but my younger kids really love being involved with the garden. I mean, they love it. And I think it's a great, project to tackle as a family, as to,
Yeah.
decide to grow a little bit of food. And go ahead and talk a little bit for the people that maybe don't garden now, and they maybe don't understand, like they've heard the term compost, but they don't understand how that works. Because I know one of the services you offer where you're at is helping with composting. So if you could talk a little bit
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, we started to change the word from compost to nutrient recycling,
Ooh, I love that.
because yeah, because I feel like I mean, it really encompasses more what it is, and it's a little bit of more like a positive, I guess, message to the year when people hear it. So it's basically what composting is. You're recycling your nutrients, just how we recycle plastic, so it won't end up in the ocean.
Mhm.
We recycle nutrients so they won't end up in the landfill and then eventually end up in our atmosphere, right? Because that's what happens when the food goes to the landfill, whether it's dairy or plants. It has to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just stay there forever. So with the sun, it starts to evaporate, and all of the nutrients and the carbon that should be transformed into carbohydrates, right? When it combines with hydrogen, it turns into methane gases, which only contribute to global warming. So when you recycle your nutrients, instead of doing that, like, you can see, like right there, those are my
Mhm.
composters. I just throw all of my food waste in there, and I throw a little bit of beneficial bacteria, and that bacteria decomposes the food scraps, and it eventually turns into beautiful, they call it black gold, right? Like
Yeah, black gold.
beautiful, nutrient rich soil, because all of those nutrients, the vitamin K, D, the phosphorus, whatever was in the broccoli that I didn't finish and I threw out, is gonna turn into soil, and it's gonna go back to the plants, right? This garden right here, I literally made it out of my own compost, and I have another garden, this one right here, that I
Mhm.
bought the soil, and as you can see, those lettuces, they're like, there's like a huge, again, there's like
Yeah,
a huge
sure.
difference between the sizes of those two. So it's just really, we call it closing the loop, where right now it's an open loop, and that's how we think of. Can you hear my dog? She's barking
I'm
like
fine.
so
No,
much.
you're fine.
She
Yeah,
wants to go
you're
inside.
fine.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna let her inside. But we call it closing the loop because we think of everything in terms of linear,
Mhm.
um, I guess, thinking. Everything has a cause and an effect. Everything has a beginning and an end. But in nature, nothing really begins and ends and then just stays like that. Everything goes in a cycle, from soil to plants to our food, and then back to soil, and then back to plants, and then back to food. And I like to think of it like we, in one of these blog posts I wrote, I say we eat the poop of the fruit trees
Yeah,
because it's waste. It's waste to the trees. They're not gonna eat
yeah.
it, and then they eat our poop. So it's
Okay.
kind of like a cycle where someone's waste is someone else's food. So it's kind of just closing that cycle and being back into that cycle of nature, where we can, uh, yeah, I mean, just grow our own food and be in that cycle, because we only have about 60 years left of farmable soil. If we keep doing it how we're doing it with the pesticides and chemicals, they say that GMOs give you better yields, but they don't.
No,
I,
actually, it's actually been shown that they there's a short window where they do.
mm,
But what they're not, and what they're not showing is that it's binding up the natural nutrients in the soil. So, you always explain to people, and I mean, a lot of these, because we live in a very rural area, so there's a lot of farmers out here that mean very well, and this is their livelihood. So it's a very sensitive topic to bring up around here, because
yeah,
that's their livelihood. But the way to be able to understand it is that the soil is living. It's supposed to be living. There
yeah,
it's alive. And when you're spraying herbicides and pesticides, it's killing the natural living organisms in the soil that's supposed to be doing all these things. And you know, then, then they'll spray synthetic fertilizers on to try to help the plant grow because there's nothing living in there to help it grow anymore. But the problem
Yeah.
is those synthetic fertilizers get into the soil and bind up any of the natural ones at all. So it ends up being this reoccurring issue. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize like they like worry about weeds, but weeds are actually a teacher. So weeds, you can look at what type of weed is growing in an area and you can actually figure out what that soil is deficient in. There's
Yeah.
specific weeds that'll grow because the earth is really good at saying, oh, this soil needs nitrogen. So it will pop up a weed that's going to give the
Yeah.
soil nitrogen.
Yeah.
You
Like a
know,
clover
yeah.
weed.
And I think it's so important to realize that, you know, the earth can take care of itself if it's allowed to take care of itself. And
Yeah.
really, we should just be there to kind of help it along by doing our best to do what we can to be able to reduce our footprint, to not, bind up the stuff in the soil, to be able to, even if it's little
Exactly.
things, like you said, closing the gap. I mean, I love that you kind of describe it that way, because I think that's easy for people even that aren't involved in this, on a deep level, that they don't understand it to that level. They can understand that in their mind, that closing the gap on that. And, it doesn't have to be hard. Just like we were talking about growing a plant, start with one plant. It could just be, saving in a bucket, saving a few scraps. And do you
Yeah.
add, I was going to ask you when you're talking about your compost, do you add worms to yours or no?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I do add the I forgot the name, but the worms that people use for fishing.
Yeah.
Those red ones. You add worms, and it actually speeds up the decomposition process. They eat their body weight in food every day, so they are very beneficial. I started seeing like roly polies. I forgot what their scientific
I don't
name,
know.
but
We've always called them
I
roly
think everybody knows. Yeah, and
I've heard them called pill bugs before too, but I
pill
don't
bugs. Yes, I think that's her name.
know. Okay.
But those, I started seeing a lot of those, and then I just started, researching, and I found that those actually eat metals and toxins.
Yeah.
So when those are present, it means that there's a lot of like toxins, and they actually break that up and then just digest it and turn it, into soil. So I do add worms. People usually have a negative connotation with any type of insect or bug or like spiders, right? Everybody hates spiders, but I hate mosquitoes more, and
Oh yeah.
spiders eat mosquitoes. So I feel like you have to pick what you want, right? And
So do
bugs and
dragonflies. Dragonflies eat
yeah,
mosquitoes too.
already I didn't know that they eat. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, but we really have to take care of our insect population too. Like people, we're so that it shows you like how separated we have been from nature, that like we have like a little fly or like a little bee, and like people start like getting scared and swatting, but they're supposed to be there. It shows that there's a healthy ecosystem when there's insects. And kind of like you said, how weeds, we start to kill them, people immediately go get bug spray or like to kill hornets and stuff like that. But I think hornets also eat mosquitoes,
Yeah.
but those do sting. Those hurt though. I got stung the other day.
Yeah.
Um, but all of these insects are part of our cycle of life, right? Like there's a carbon cycle, hydrogen, nitrogen, all of these cycles, and every single animal, insect, bug, plant is a part of these cycles, and we need to keep the loop going, because keeping the cycle going is what continues life. And when we have a leak or we close that cycle, then that's when life starts to fade away and like terminate. So we
Absolutely.
just have to be conscious that we're not the most important or like only species on earth, right? We are just an element of earth, and we're supposed to play our part, not I guess conquer and rule and kill everything so that we can have AC and TV and stuff.
Yeah, and I think, for a lot of people, they don't realize that a lot of the illness and sickness and, deficiencies and all these things that we're seeing in the human population right now is because of the break in that cycle. We
Yes.
wouldn't have the extent of illnesses that we have now if the cycle and the loops were closed the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just to what we were talking earlier, like even the fruits and vegetables now, they have way less nutrients and way more sugar.
Yeah.
So even if we're eating I mean, we should still eat like fruits and stuff, but if they're grown in poor conditions, they're not going to have the nutrients that we need. And just how we spray pesticides, herbicides to, kill weeds, we take antibiotics to kill the bacteria or the virus that enters our body, just so we can feel better. But just how the weed is a sign of poor soil, that bacteria, that cold, the flu is a sign to us of poor health and
Yeah.
uh, a deficiency in some nutrient or some mineral that we need. But we're so tied to the convenient lifestyle that we don't want to have any inconvenience, even if it's like a snuffy nose. People take the allergy medicines. I used to have allergies really bad. And then when I started eating like organic and when I let go of dairy, that's when my allergies significantly went away. And like I notice now, like I'll eat cheese every once in a while, and the next day my nose is
Yeah.
super stuffy. Like I cannot breathe. And my acne starts to come back up too. Like I used to have super bad acne, and I would eat a lot of cheese. That was like my favorite thing in high school. Um, so all of these things that we try to put medicine on or like take antibiotics, they're signs telling us that we're doing something wrong with the way we eat or maybe like emotional bodies, right? Like sadness isn't bad. It's just a sign that maybe you're not living your true purpose, right? Or living towards fulfillment, or maybe someone's treating you wrong, right? So it's not. They're all signs, and we need to listen, but there's so much noise around us that it's hard to pay attention to ourselves and to what our body's trying to tell us and to what our environment's trying to tell us. So that's why I love
Absolutely.
meditation.
Yeah. And it helps you be quiet and still long enough to listen. And I want to touch on a point that you made about, that we just try to cover with antibiotics. And, I agree with you on that 100%. There is a time and a place, obviously, for an antibiotic. But I think what most people
Yeah,
don't realize is, you know, you should get if you're giving your body the right tools, a lot of the time it can kick that out on its own. If you're giving it the right nutrients, you're supporting it in the right way, a lot of times it can go ahead and fight that bacteria, fight that virus on its own. And if we're not giving it the chance to try to do so, then we're actually weakening our immune system. So I think, if most people would, take a moment, try to give our body the tools that it's supposed to have. And then, if it ends up being something that's bad enough that we need to go to the doctor, at that point in time, it ends up being kind of a situation on going ahead and, taking an antibiotic, knowing that, it's not only killing the bad bacteria in your system, it's killing all the good bacteria in your system as well. And I think that's what people
yeah,
don't realize. So, there's a whole host of issues that can come from taking a medicine, even if it's much needed at that moment. So you really have to kind of stop and pause and wait and see, okay, well, am I needing to, increase my hydration? Am I, all these things to be able to give the body the right tools to be able to fight these things off. And I agree with you on
yeah.
that 100%.
I call them weapons. I
Yeah.
say your immune system is like your army or like your military, and you have to give it the proper weapons and the proper training as well to be able to fight off like bacteria and diseases, because the bacteria is like an enemy trying to infiltrate your fortress, right? And if it doesn't have the proper training through maybe you giving yourself micro stresses through whether it's exercise, whether it's cardio, um, meditation, or all of these small stresses are good for us, and they train our body to be able to be more resilient when we have big stresses like bacteria or like just something stressful in life. And that's like, I feel like that's like the training, right? Like you train yourself, and then the weapons are the broccoli and the asparagus. They could be like spears, they used to kill the bacteria or whatever. um, but if we never train, right, like our immune system's gonna get lazy, it's gonna be underdeveloped, and if they don't have weapons, then they're just gonna get murdered, right? And I used to, like, from a personal standpoint, I used to get sick all the time, and like like every year I was like one flu away or one cold away from getting my tonsils removed. Because my mom, like, we live in a border town, like I mentioned, like she would just go to Mexico, get penicillin, and then I would just be taking antibiotics, and I would get sick so often. It sucked. And then once I decided I didn't want to take medicine anymore, I started getting sick less often, and the duration of the symptoms would be less every time. Like it went from being sick for like a month to 3 weeks to 2 weeks to 1 week, and then it kept getting longer and longer. Like I would get sick every other month, and then every 3 months, and then every 5 months, and then every half a year, and then eventually like I just don't really get sick anymore. And when I do, like I start to feel symptoms, it's always like because I'm eating a lot of sugar. Like every time I'm hanging out with or like I'll go stay with someone, and I don't have my diet. Like I'm staying like somewhere with my cousins, and they're just eating a lot of sugar, and I'm eating the cookies too. Then I just start to feel symptoms come up, like a sore throat or whatever.
Well,
So
and the body tries to tell you, that's for sure, and I think, there are good times and places, to be able to use conventional medicine, to go to the doctor, to go to the hospital, but, you really have to take, the standpoint on saying that, "I'm in charge of my own health. You're in charge of your own health." We have to be able to take that step to be able to control our own health and be able to give our body, like you said, the tools, the weapons, my grandma always called them soldiers. So, like,
yeah,
we'll give our body the things that we need to be able to, fight off a lot of these things. I always use the analogy, of, you know, if I
hey
go out
Michelle.
here today, yeah, hi, Michelle, and Ralph's been on here too, but we've been talking and said hi, but hi, everybody. But,
Yeah,
anyway, if we give our body, the tools, it can do a whole lot of things. But that being said, if I was to go out, after this and unfortunately get in a car accident, and I use this analogy a lot, I don't want anybody out there like rubbing herbs on me. Don't rub herbs on me.
yeah,
Go to the hospital, get me triage, get me, there's times and places. Conventional medicine is not the enemy. There's a time and a place that it's very necessary and very needed. There are
yeah,
super strong bugs out there that an antibiotic is definitely, necessary, because I'm a big believer in natural, remedies. And I'm an herbalist, I do all those things. So I'm a big believer in those things.
yeah.
But there is a time and a place, and those things
Yeah, it's
typically,
like when you have to drop a nuclear
yeah,
bomb. That's kind of like
e-
the antibiotic. Like that's the last
exactly.
resort.
Yeah, and I think we've been conditioned, especially in this country, we've been conditioned to, as soon as, like you mentioned earlier, as soon as you feel a sniffle, you run to the doctor. You get the antibiotic, not even knowing if it's a virus or a bacteria. And an antibiotic
Yeah,
only treats the bacteria, and it actually a lot of times makes a virus worse. So,
yeah,
I think a lot of times, if we kind of know these things, and it's not anything against the doctors, because the doctors, the nurses, the hospitals, these clinics, they are a lot of times very limited on the amount of time they can spend with a patient, so they don't have the time to sit and have conversations like we're having right now, where they're trying to teach them everything that they don't
yeah. Like,
know.
how's your stress? Like, what are you eating?
So, I
Have you
mean,
been sleeping? How much
exactly.
TV do you watch?
Yep. And
Yeah,
those are important things to do.
I always say healthcare is free because I know right now like healthcare is like a big debate, right? Especially with like the change in
Yeah.
presidency and like healthcare being free. I say healthcare is free because you can take care of your health for free, right? Like by just eating, choosing to buy different foods, right? I think the what we call healthcare and like the hospital, I think that's sick care because
It is.
they take care
Absolutely.
of you when you get sick and they take care of your sickness and your disease, not of your health, right? Like your health, you take care of that, right? So that's why the healthcare is on you, right? It's not on your
It's your own
insurance.
responsibility.
Yeah, by and there's a lot of things that we can do to take care of our health, and it all starts with evaluating where we are and seeing like the first step we can take. And I always like my a reason why I started like getting so much into health is again because my family is really unhealthy. Like, come from diabetic families, and my mom, and she just watches like novellas all the time and stuff. And uh, and most people, right? They when they can, they'll just watch TV, and they're there for hours, right? Before they know it, it's already nighttime. So,
Yeah.
uh, she's not a very healthy person, but she's been starting just walking around and doing some laps just here in the yard, right? And I'm like super proud of her because that's all it takes. And she says like, oh yeah, she feels better even just getting her heart rate slightly up. And you're not gonna go run a marathon the first day, right? Just go up, take a walk, uh, eat some greens, make yourself a green smoothie, or buy a prepared one from the grocery store. Those green juices. It's all these small things that small steps that we can take. And I always recommend meditation to everybody because if you don't know what to do, don't do anything, right? And that's what meditation is. It's not doing anything and allowing yourself to I guess even like be bored for a bit. Just putting your phone away, turn on the TV, and just sitting, and all of those thoughts that don't like you don't know what to do, they kind of just fade away. And I don't know, it's just very peaceful feeling to sit. And I feel like your next step, like the step that you should take, kind of reveals itself once the turmoil is allowed to settle, right? Because we just, it's like having water, and we try to make it calm with a flat iron, right? Like you can't do that. You have to let it sit and it calms itself.
Absolutely,
Michelle
and I
said, I
think
just started. Oh,
oh,
nice. You started meditating. That's awesome. That's super.
it
I'm
is,
glad to hear that.
it is, and I think for some people, we are in a society that busyness is rewarded. There's such a
Oh yeah.
this idea of reward to busyness, and I am one of the most guilty people on this. For the longest time, I'm a very energetic person, and I like to do lots of things, which is fine. That's my personality. But where differences in personalities happen is sometimes people have a hard time, getting motivated to go out and do things. I had to be motivated to stop doing things. I had
Yeah.
to make myself. And what I found is, I put myself literally on a schedule. I do yoga and meditation literally every single day. Every single day I
Nice.
do it because that has been one of the most life-changing things for me, because just like you said, stopping, pausing, reflecting, literally clearing your mind and doing nothing, giving yourself permission to do nothing. And I think that's, again, in this society a lot of times, that is, it's something that's almost frowned upon to do nothing.
Yeah. It's like, what are you
And
doing? Do
yeah,
something.
yeah, you're supposed to be productive, you're a go-getter, grinding, all these,
Yeah.
like, terms that we all use, which are fine in their time and their
Yeah. Hustler.
place. Yeah, they're fine in their time and place. It's not that they're terrible in and themselves, but I think we need to really kinda take a step back and really start to look at meditation
Yeah.
and
It
look
helps you
at
to find direction too.
it does.
Because you could be running, but if you're going south when you're supposed to be going north, then you're gonna have to backtrack all of that. So yeah, like you said, like we're so conditioned to go to school, go to work, uh, yeah, do something, right? But sometimes we're doing stuff that doesn't make us happy, and sometimes it brings the opposite of that. Like it makes us feel sad or make us like unfulfilled. And I like that's probably one thing I meditated a lot because I don't know what to do with my life, right? Like I don't know what to do, and I don't want to do something that is going to harm others or that's going to, like, I don't want to work just for money. Obviously, money is important, but
Money's a
I want to
tool.
do, yes, but I do want to do something that I love and that I know is helping me and like my family, my friends, and my community like move forward in a positive direction, right? Not just run nowhere fast, right? Because I feel like that's what most of us do, right? Just we're going nowhere really fast, and we're gonna end up off of a cliff before we even know it.
And I
So
think a lot of people probably hear themselves in that. I know that was my experience. I was running fast. Some things worked, some things didn't, but I was still just doing all the things. And, it really took taking this step, and it's really an idea of committing to the idea that every day I'm going to do meditation, clear my mind. Every day I'm going to do yoga because I feel better when I'm going to do it. And,
yeah,
I plan for rest time. I plan for days off. And that's hard for me because we have our things that it's hard for us. That's hard for me.
yeah,
Doing nothing, people that know me know that doing nothing is like, at the very beginning, it was excruciating. It was like a minute felt like so long,
like
like
eternity.
so
Yeah,
long. Yeah. But it's so important, and it is so rewarding once you get kind of past that hurdle of I think it feels odd because we're not used to it. But growth takes kind of feeling odd for a while.
yeah,
Growth at the beginning, you're going to be, well, you mentioned the analogy of working out. You start a workout program. If you've never worked out before, you're gonna be a little sore at the beginning,
yeah,
you know,
really sorry.
then,
Yeah,
yeah, but then eventually you're gonna be less sore and eventually not sore at all. It's kind of like that with anything that helps us grow, right? And
yeah.
like
The
whether
thing
it's
with
meditation or
yeah.
starting a garden or eating better or whatever, fill in the blank.
Mhm. And I think the thing with meditation that makes it so uncomfortable is that it it like shows you sometimes what you have been ignoring for so long and been suppressing, right? Like uh for someone who's unhealthy and they start to sit and then they start to uh just see signs of body aches or whatever it is that maybe they didn't see before because they were just hustling and grinding. And it just like it shows us things that sometimes we don't want to see, but we have to see in order to heal, to allow ourselves to heal, because people break their legs and like they keep running. But you have to sit, right? You have to, in that case, we would have to go to the doctor for sure. But
And
it
heal.
does allow you. Yeah.
I said give yourself time to heal. That's important too.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you just like give yourself direction, and is like the most important thing, because I feel like we have broken compasses today, like morally, health wise, like in all aspects. And have you ever heard of Alan Watts?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a quote that, or I guess just one of his lectures, where he says like, before we decide to save the planet or keep on destroying it, I think we should all sit in silence. And he says real silence, right? Not the silence like the funeral where everybody's not talking, but they're thinking like all these grim thoughts, right? Like real silence, where we can't, where we shut the that clutter, that voice in our head that's constantly just telling us things that is not even like are not even true, or that just hurt us, right? Like all of these negative thoughts that are like someone else's voices, the negative beliefs, the self-doubt. Because it's hard to, I mean, if you are running and you have all this weight on you, right, you're obviously gonna not even go fast. So it's a way to take that weight off of your own shoulders, and just be with yourself, right? Like there was this study, I think it was like 2007, where they let people sit in a room with no TV, like nothing, right? Nothing in their pockets, and they try to do it for 17 minutes. They had done it like in 1940. That was like the max where people, they would like start to go crazy after that. And then they did it again like in 2007, and people didn't even last 3 minutes. Just sitting in a room with nothing, right? They started to go crazy and wanted to get out so bad, because we're we don't like being with ourselves, because we don't like ourselves a lot of the times. And so we just busy ourselves with all these things that we don't even know why we're doing them. We just do them so we won't be alone with our own thoughts and with ourselves, because we don't want to accept ourselves how we are. But that's where growth comes from. It's like knowing who you are and what you stand for, right? And having to like take all this stuff, or all of these beliefs that people have put on us that are not really our own beliefs.
And I think that could be hard, and it can be at the very beginning, like anything else, like we were mentioning before, it could be painful to try to figure out, that
Oh
you're
yeah.
chasing someone else's life. And I use the example a lot that, for me, for so long, I was chasing somebody else's definition of success. Somebody else had told me the definition of success, and I'm just, I'm running after that full force.
What was that definition?
But well, you know how it typically is. It's the money, it's the house, the car, it's the title. That was the
Yeah.
definition I had for the longest time. And it's again, it's not that those things are bad in themselves. It's when you attach that emotion to them, I think it can be because, if you haven't figured out what your passion really is, what your purpose really is, I think that's huge. And, having money doesn't make you happy. Not having money doesn't make you not happy. Happiness makes you happy. And I think purpose
Yeah.
makes you happy. And, and it seems silly that for me to say this, but I'm standing behind it 100%. I think if everybody started meditating and if everybody started gardening, as silly as that sounds, I think those little things could literally change the world because you're sitting, you're stopping, you're thinking, you're getting in touch with the earth and becoming a part of it again because we are a part of the earth, like it or not, whether you believe in sustainability or not, whether you believe in global warming or not, doesn't matter what you believe, we're still a part of
Yeah.
this earth.
Yeah, you don't have
So
to believe in
yeah,
global warming
no,
to want to be healthier, or to want a healthier ecosystem around you, right? Because green just
absolutely.
makes people happy. And I'm just curious, what is your definition of success now?
What is it? It's purpose. My definition of success
Purpose.
now is completely living in my purpose. And, it took me a while to figure that out. Like, what is my purpose? Because, I love all the things that I do, professionally. And they're different things on the outside, but when you kind of reel them back, they're all the same purpose. And my purpose is I want to help others find their purpose and live their purpose. And
Yeah.
the only way you can do that is if you feel good. So that's the reason I've been in, you know, the
Yeah.
nutrition and wellness world for so long, is because it doesn't matter, you know, if you've got your purpose going on, you know, professionally, if you feel like crap, you can't even enjoy it. You know, you can't even enjoy the things that you have that you know, would enjoy if you felt good, because it always dials back to that. And, you know, even in my consulting business, a lot of times what ends up happening when I'm working with business owners is that we'll start to figure out that they've got these health issues that's really holding them back, and
Yeah.
really, you know, it's really making them not reach their potential that they're trying to reach, their purpose they're trying to get to. And so it kind of really combines at the end of the day, because, you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're in the marketing consulting world and you're also in the wellness world." That's kind of different, and it is from the front
Yeah.
side. But really, when you dial it back, we're human. You know, we're human, and as humans, we have these layers of things that go on, and wellness is at the core of that. If I had to pick, if you told me I had to pick something to do and I could only do that, it would definitely be my wellness world, because that changes lives more than anything else. You know, the marketing
Yeah.
stuff's great. That helps show people what people are doing. But, you know, as far as, you know, it doesn't matter what they're doing if they feel like crap, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think that's everybody wants to feel good, and I think it's hard to admit to others that you don't, right? Like everybody wants to have that, like that front or that image that like, oh, I'm doing great. But they never say how they feel, right? Like when people are like, oh, like every time I run into an old friend, I'm like, how are you doing? Like they always go back to, yeah, I'm making good money. Like that's what everybody says now. And I ask them, are you happy? And they always take like a pause. And some people say yes, and I'm happy for those people. But we put, you know, other stuff over happiness. And I think, like you said, it comes with health, right? Like there's I made this post the other day, and it was like a pyramid of health, and like physical health is at the bottom, and then that determines your mental health and your spiritual health, and it's really just all one thing, right? There's no such thing as like a difference, but because when you like going back to meditation, like once you're done meditating and you stay in that meditative mind, you literally cannot pick up a bag of Cheetos and eat it and not feel like they don't even like if you really pay attention to it, they don't really even taste that good. But there's a study for people who were trying to quit smoking. I forgot who the doctor was, but they had a really good success rate with mindful smoking. He told them to just really be in the moment and like really pay attention to how the smoke tasted and how it felt in their mouths and how it felt in their lungs, right? Like he told them not to watch TV or be on the phone, like don't do anything else but smoke and absorb every single ounce of that process that you're doing. And when he asked them how does the smoke taste, they all said it tastes like shit. Like they literally said it tastes like
Yeah,
shit, right? And I think that's the power of being in the moment, right? That like meditation, I think it gives us that a superpower of presentness and of mindfulness, right? Because when you're present, like you cannot do something that's bad for you or something that's bad for someone else, right? Like you cannot hurt someone else if you're really feeling the entire process of what's going on. And again, I don't know, I keep talking about it, but I just love like, and I try to encourage people to be in the present moment as much as possible, because that's what's going to make you feel the best and take the best decisions for yourself and for others, because you cannot hurt yourself and you cannot hurt others when you're aware of what you're really doing.
absolutely. And it really puts you in a state of mind to really notice how everybody else is, and really check in with everybody else, and really care about how that other person is, and to give back. You know, and I think that's a huge part of, you know, a lot of the problems is we're so bogged down with the day to day. It's not that people don't care, it's that they don't even stop long enough to notice they do.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a great point. That's so true. Like we're someone else is talking and they're thinking of what they want to say, or they're thinking of something else, and they might be giving you signs of like depression or anxiety or like suicide, which is like super high right now. And we, like you said, it's not that they don't care, but they don't even notice that they don't care, because they're so preoccupied with stuff that like doesn't even matter, that's like not there. They're thinking about tomorrow or some problem they have. And yeah, being present with someone can really change someone else's life. Like it can change your life, and like if you pick up on that sign and you just like instead of saying the thing you wanted to say about something you just bought or I don't know like a promotion you got, and pick up the sign and like maybe ask another question like, oh, like why do you feel like that, or what led you there, or like where are you going, right? Like what direction do you want to take? It can really help. You can help them like navigate out of that dark place. And like I think something I've said before is we cannot fight like darkness with darkness. Even maybe they're not sad, maybe they're mean, right? Maybe they're angry, and that darkness we cannot. Our first reaction would be to be I'm gonna be mean to you back, right? If you scream at me, I'm gonna scream louder. But like you cannot turn off someone else's darkness, right? You can only light it up, right? And if their candle is off, you have to be that light, and you have to give them your light, and you don't have to give it forever, right? But once you turn on their candle, it stays lit, and they can go and turn on someone else's, right? And I think that's how like meditation and being present can like change the world, because you'll be the light in someone else's life, and then they can go be the light for someone else.
Absolutely. And, I think it's important is that there's a lot of people out there that are very, focused and driven and have goals. And I think those things are amazing to do that and to have plans and to do those things. But it's so important to take that time to not think about those things, to really absorb and notice what's going on right around you, to, figure out how you can reach out and help. And I mentioned this before about giving back. Giving back is I think every single person should have whatever they feel to give back, whether it's volunteering somewhere or financially donating or whatever it may be. I'm a big pusher
Yeah.
that people should give back in whatever way that they can and feel led to. And I
And there's
think
nothing
that
like giving time.
yes, exactly.
Because money,
Exactly.
it's like, I mean, it's still good, right? You're helping someone out, but when you give someone your energy, like your actual energy, not something that you worked for, like money, it makes you feel good, right? Like when all the people that have came to volunteer in our garden, they're like, I don't know anything about gardening. And I'm like, it's okay. You just, I'll tell you, like we're doing it all together, and there's this guy Jesse. He sponsored a garden, a little garden bed, and him and his son and his wife went to go help too, right? So they volunteered their time, and we did the garden. And his son planted the tree, and he like helped dig the hole. And his wife forgot her water bottle, so I went to go drop it off after. And they have a skate shop here locally, and that's why like they sponsored it. And I went to go drop it off, and he was outside washing his car, his truck, and he was like, man, like, I feel like I have so much energy.
Yeah.
I just feel great. Like after, like I thought I would be tired because it was like like an hour and a half, like digging holes, like mulching stuff like that. And he's like, man, I have so much energy. I just feel great. Like I had to do something, so I came out and I'm just cleaning my truck, and he was blasting his cumbias, and he was like kind of dancing and cleaning, and like it's really great. Like he could have just sponsored it and paid for it, but the fact that he went obviously helped us a lot, right? Because we had fun too. We're like
Yeah.
playing music, planting the tree and like celebrating and stuff. But it just made me so happy to see how much uh I guess like vibrancy and energy it gave him. Like, and that was like maybe like 4 or 5 hours after the fact that they went, and he was still just like really hyped, right? Like there's nothing like giving your time and your energy to a cause that you believe in, right? Like whether it's gardening, whether it's helping refugees, whether helping the homeless, like there's really, it doesn't really matter what it is, like as long as you're helping someone in some way. I believe like healing at any level contributes to healing at every level, right?
I
So
agree.
just doing something, but really like giving your time. Like people, they're like, oh, my time is so precious, but then they'll watch like 4 hours of TV.
Yeah.
Like just just take an hour out of that,
Yep.
and to give that, right? Like we're never too busy to help someone else, and we we never know what we're gonna get back, whether even like if it's just energy and like that vibrancy. That's probably the best thing you can get back.
Absolutely, and I mean, our bodies are meant to move, and our spirits and our energies are meant to connect. And I think by doing these things, it brings people together on such a level that nothing else can. And I think that's so
Yeah.
important to do. Can you talk for a second? We got a little bit of a few minutes left. I wanted you to talk a little bit about your community garden, and maybe for anybody that's listening, that's like, gosh, I've always wanted to start a community garden. How would I even do that? Because that's a big, it seems like a big thing. Can you kind
Yeah,
of explain just real quick how you did that and maybe some tips for other people listening?
sure. Yeah. I mean, I thought it would be, a lot harder than it's been too, but I kind of just made a post and I just talked to the city, and I told them about it, and I went like live, like on my Facebook while I was doing it, and that really got a lot of people interested. And someone that I did not even know at the time saw that I talked to them, and the city was kind of like, oh, whatever. Now they're supporting me a little bit more because they see I've been, we're actually doing it, and I've been talking to city officials, some members of city council. Um, but at first they just ignored me. They're like, whatever, bro. And someone else saw it and they reached out to me and they said, hey, I have a big yard. Let's do it in my backyard. Like, I don't know anything about gardening, but I've always wanted to start. And I said, okay. So I went to his yard. He did have a big yard. We just made a fundraiser on Facebook and we got like about $400. That got us like 2 garden beds, and a lot of mulch. Um, so I think just setting the intention to start, and you don't have to know exactly what the first step is, but just finding that community around you. Like if you just kind of put your intentions out into the world, into social media, uh, people who have that same idea or just love what you're doing, they're going to reach out to you, and everybody's going to have different resources that you don't have, right? Like I didn't have the land, this guy had the land, he didn't have the knowledge, I had the knowledge. Obviously I just have books. There's a ton of books on gardening. I just got one, gardening in the Southwest, because we're in the Southwest. um, but just I would say, yeah, just putting it out there and just finding people who also like want to be healthier and want to like start something like that, right? And then once you do, we've had so much help from people that like I wouldn't even expect that I guess would want to help, right? Like at first I thought the city would be our biggest supporters. They were not. It was just regular people. And again, we've had like over $700 in donations. I think we've had some sponsors, so we've had like a little under $1,000 just in sponsors. And it's just really talking to people and seeing who wants to help with what, right? Because you never know. Like I now have a bunch of new friends that we're gardening together and stuff because
Absolutely.
I just put it on Facebook like, hey, I want to start a community garden. Um, and it's kind of like the law of attraction, right? It's gonna, you know things and resources and people are gonna start to attract to you, and things are gonna like manifest, right? And right now we only have 4 garden beds. It's not super big, but we're
It's
adding
yeah.
1 or 2 a week. And we're getting sponsors. So I would say
Everything
if
starts
not
somewhere.
start in your backyard, yeah. If not, just start in your backyard and invite your neighbors, right? Like if you don't know your neighbors, go knock on their door, right? Like, hey, I'm starting a little community garden just for maybe this block here.
Mhm.
Why don't you come and if help, and then I could give you some lettuce, or we could do one in my yard, and then we could do one in your yard. And I would just say just know what to plant when, and USDA.com has a lot of resources. You just put in your zip code. If you put USDA hardiness zone, um, it'll I mean, it's going to be a link, and then you click it, and then it tells you to put your zip code, and then it tells you what hardiness zone you're in, and it tells you what you can plant in that season. So that's probably like a great resource that we use, because you don't want to plant. Well, like me that I live in Texas, you don't want to plant tomatoes in the winter, because they're not going to grow. Like so, I would just say that like just know what you want to plant, or find out what you can plant, and then just go knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, like I want to start a community garden. Start composting for sure. Make your own
Absolutely.
soil. Don't buy soil. Start recycling your own nutrients. I just got some pallets, like as you can see there in the back, and just make a square, and then just start throwing everything in there, and you're gonna have the best soil, and with that you could grow anything
Absolutely. I love the
and enjoy
advice.
the process.
Yes, yeah, I think and it is enjoyable. It seems like work, but it's fun work, and
Yes, it
it's
is.
something that is and it's there's not a lot of things you can actually it's that's like magic, like growing
Yeah,
plants. Plants are like I mentioned earlier is like magic. And if you've never gardened before, I strongly suggest you at least try one plant. Just try one plant. You'll see it's
yeah.
contagious. My kids call me crazy
Your
plant lady
cilantro.
because yeah, I have plants even all through my house. I love
Nice.
plants. It's
That's
just
awesome.
how it is, but,
Yeah, and
it's
they
just
love
kinda one
feedback,
of
I'm sure.
yeah, absolutely. So I've really enjoyed having you on. Can you tell everybody that's listening and that will be watching the replays if they wanna follow you and find out more about what you're doing, where they can contact you?
Sure, yeah, our website is helpingourplanetevolve.org. On Facebook, it's Helping Our Planet Evolve, and on Instagram, it's healthy_sustainable_culture, 'cause that's what we wanna create, healthy, sustainable culture.
I love it,
Yes.
and that's what it's about community, it's about sustainability, it's about not about perfection, but about bringing everybody together with the goal of being healthy and
Yeah.
happy and, living our best life with purpose, and, you know, it doesn't have to be this perfect process, it's start where
Yeah,
you're
no,
at.
we've had plants die on us. It's okay. It
Yeah,
you just
it
plant more.
happens. Yeah, it happens, so and I
But
think
the
that's what holds
connections that you
people
make.
back.
Yes, yeah, no, yeah, plants are gonna die. My mentor, when he taught me, he like a little jalapeno plant died, and like he literally just took it out and put another one. He's like, "Oh, this one died." I was like,
Yeah,
"What? You just
yeah,
do that?" He's like, "Yeah, you just put another." Plant. I was like, "What?" That just kind of changes. That's just like changed my whole perspective. I thought like once it died, it died. But I mean, you could just plant something else in that spot,
it
uh,
happens.
and yeah, and the connections you make, like gardening, like it's not like watching TV with someone where you're just like mindlessly staring at a screen. Like you're talking, you're interacting, you're working together. You have
You're
like the wheel
making
bending on
magic,
stuff.
you're creating magic together.
Yeah, no, definitely creating a little food forest is our goal,
Mhm,
and it's
I
very
love it.
enjoyable. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely, it's been great, and make sure that you follow, Chris and everything that he's doing at Healthy Sustainable Culture on Instagram and Helping Our Planet Evolve on Facebook, and do you all have a YouTube channel as well?
Yes, yeah, helping our planet evolve. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, check 'em out on
We always
YouTube
put
as
our
well.
pets on there too.
I love it. What's that one's name?
This one's is gris. That means gray in Spanish.
Gray.
Yeah,
I
gris.
love it. Alright, well, it's been great, and, enjoy your sun. I see that your sky's pretty blue there. I'm in Ohio, so it's gray and disgustingly nasty here, so
Oh,
I've been
really?
staring at the sky behind you the whole time going, "So jealous, I'm so jealous." But
Yeah, winters in Texas are it's like 70 right now.
no,
They're
it's
like,
it's I don't even know what it is here, 30 something, it's terrible, but
"Ooh, that's
it is
cold."
what it is. Yeah, it is cold, so but you, enjoy your blue sky, and,
Yes, thank you.
yeah. Alright, you have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, you as well. Have a great day.